Check 1 2, check check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2, check check.
But I don't think he's got it. There it is. I hear it now.
Good evening, everyone. Can you please take your seats? We're about to start. Thank you all. I call to order this May 5th, 2025 special meeting of the City Council at 4 minutes after 6. Mr. Wright, all right, would you lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, sir. Everybody please stand. Right hand on your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mo. Madam City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Francois.
Here.
Councilmember Keegan.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem DeToy.
Here.
Mayor Seaman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have anyone for public comment in person first and then Zoom afterward?
Yes, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you're joining the meeting by phone, please remember to dial *6 to unmute yourself and *9 to raise your hand. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide comments in our chamber. And first we have Robert, followed by Nancy and Sally.
Good evening. I'm Robert Aronoff. I'm at 124 The Strand in Hermosa Beach. And I've lived in Hermosa Beach for 38 years, and I have never seen a city manager generate such controversy as we have today. At your April 22nd meeting, she marshaled all the employees that she's hired and oversees and has the power to fire to support her. Many of these people are more loyal to her than to the city. As a recent letter to the editor of the Easy Reader pointed out, a cult-like atmosphere has formed around the city manager's office. In this environment, anyone who dares question or critique City Hall is attacked, shut down, or silenced, especially on social media. A former Hermosa Beach City Councilman told me that the City Hall is under a siege mentality. Recently, there was an incident where a city employee hired by and loyal to Susha Lowenthal circulated an email in an attempt to intimidate a city council member. Under Susha, there's been a lack of transparency. Rather than have open discussions of diverse opinions, there is an active effort by the city managers to allow only one narrative and silence all other voices, often with intimidation. Council members are discouraged from speaking publicly about the issues in advance of a meeting, and because it would be prejudicial, and then after a meeting because it would be disloyal to the city. There's now the city manager's office is sealed off and with bulletproof glass, and all communications, even from the press, now have to go through the newly created city information officer. Hermosa Beach is facing many challenges going forward, and Susha Lowenthal does not appear to have the skill set to tackle them. She is the first city manager who felt that she needed an assistant. This despite many of the city functions have become more automated. We are spending more on city staff than ever before. We've had much turnover in city staff, and the city is developing a reputation as being business unfriendly. The results under Susha Lowenthal have been disappointing. Over budget projects, key employee turnover. There's been no meaningful update to the long overdue zoning code. Many of her decisions, such as revamping the parking permits, have been very controversial. They've created division among the council members,
Mr. Arnold?
past and present.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, well, we need to take a new direction
Thank you.
under
Thank
the
you,
wrong
sir. I
direction.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next.
Good evening. I want to address former council member Justin Massey's recent letter to the editors of Beach Reporter and Easy Reader, describing what he calls claims and facts. I only have 3 minutes. I'll only be able to address a few of them. I could,
Please.
given more time, I could do more. Massey's facts are simply unsubstantiated and in some cases misleading statements of opinion. Claim 1, we've developed a big city bureaucracy. Fact, staff costs have increased because the city is fully staffing its police, public works, and fire departments for the first time in decades. He does not mention the 9 new full-time positions at City Hall, including the deputy city manager, and 16 new full-time positions in the police department. And the city doesn't staff the fire department, as we know LA County does. Claim 3, the housing element was approved late, leading to the proposed builder's remedy 50-foot building on North Hermosa. Fact, a long-tenured planning commissioner said the delay was not the fault of city staff. Who said that, and whose fault was it? It is my understanding the housing element, ultimately certified in August 24, was 2 years late. According to information on the city's website, public hearings were held in late 2022 and throughout 2023. Why were those hearings not held in 20 and 21? What was the city manager doing to advance those important issues prior to late 2022? Claim 6, Lowenthal has brought in a plethora of highly paid consultants. Fact, the city uses consultants to provide expertise on large projects at the same rate they always have been. I submitted numerous public records requests to find out whether, in fact, we were hiring more consultants than in the past, and I was told that information is not available. I was told I needed to go through every city council agenda, see what consultants were approved, for what purpose, and for how much. Did Justin Massey go through that exercise? If not, on what basis is he claiming it's the same as it ever was? Claim 8, the homeless problem is not being addressed. Fact, the city adopted a homeless plan and other measures have been instituted. The plan was adopted in July 2018 before the city manager was hired. So what does that have to do with her performance? And what evidence is there that any of these other measures are being effective? We all see with our own eyes more unhoused on our streets than ever before. Interestingly, he said other former council members and I collectively have served under 4 city managers over several decades. As you know, council members do not serve under the city manager. The reverse is true. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members, please have a fair and honest discussion and determine whether it is time for a change in the city manager who serves under you and whose job it is to implement your policies and procedures. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sally Harris, and I have 2 issues with the city manager, and they're both administrative issues, very simple issues. One is the height limit that happened, or proposed height limit for a building on Hermosa Avenue that's being proposed at 53 feet. If the city manager had gotten in the paperwork on time, this would have never happened with the height limit, and it would have stayed at 30 feet for these people. The other thing is with parking passes, that was really a fiasco, the whole procedure. And it's still, people still don't understand what the procedures are and what you can do and how you can have a pass. The worst part of it is that it's really a reflection on the city council when mistakes are made, simple administrative mistakes. And so I want you to take a look at that and know that maybe there is a change that needs to be taken place.
Thank you.
Hi, Rory Barish. City managers are supposed to implement municipal policy supervising the day-to-day operations of all city departments and staff. Their duties include executing policies, budget management, and supervising personnel. I don't believe that Suja is doing a good job at any of these. After 8 years of our city manager, having our city manager, she's only getting around now to deferred maintenance projects. And everything she oversaw prior, the Clark Building, the gravel path on the Greenbelt, restrooms for the parks, were way behind schedule and way over budget. The city manager allowed Hermosa's housing element to be delivered late, putting all of our city at risk and resulting in the builder's remedy being used for a 53-foot, 5-unit apartment building on Hermosa. This project ignores height standards, which would ruin the essence of the community, and paving way for more of this to happen because the city manager doesn't have it together. When review comes around again, I doubt Suja will be prepared. The community is outraged, as was witnessed in the last Planning Commission hearing on this. As Sally just mentioned, the parking permit program was a complete disaster and hurts residents and businesses. Why is it that other cities that I have lived in can figure it out? But to this city manager, for some reason, it's rocket science. This is awful oversight and budget management and lack of supervision on the city manager's part. While paid staff and insiders all have very good things to say about her, the constituents that I hear from do not approve of the job that she's doing. It's time for a change. It's time for a new city manager who can do just that, manage the city. And Suja Lowenthal cannot. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Could we kind of pay attention to the list and queue up behind the speakers so we have time, save time in between? Thank you.
Which one of them? Both of them work? I couldn't hear most of the last testimony. George Schmelzer, Valley Drive, and I'd like to speak on the city manager's behalf. I can't add much to what already had been said in voluminous praise of our city manager at your last meeting. It was attended by more than 100 residents, along with city staff, department heads, local businessmen, many of whom she has worked with side by side for years. Most speakers cited her knowledgeable, empathic, and professional approach to solving complex problems and recruiting top-notch people, yet we hear that the city council is poised to terminate her. What's going on? At the State of the Union message on April the 29th, she and her staff received high praise. Why the sudden change? What happened? Do residents have a right to be honest, to receive honest and truthful account of the state of the city? Or is the state of the city just a political game when the mayor announces, quote, our city is well positioned, end quote, or adds, quote, what a great job she, Suja, has done helping to guide us with the challenges we have in our city, end quote, or calls the housing plan, quote, quite an accomplishment and a testament to the hard work of our staff, or announces an 8% decline in the crime rate this year alone, end quote. Is this a person who has earned anything less than a trophy for her hard work, maybe even a raise? I urge you to support the city manager and to shed some much-needed light on her treatment recently. We have a city manager of star quality. Let's keep her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Anne, followed by Gila and Sean.
Hello, my name is Anne Gotthofer from the Strand. So 2 weeks ago, I was confident that the item would be voted down that night and that reason would prevail. Tonight, I am fearful that our city is on the brink of disaster. Some may think that this is hyperbole, but experiences in other cities and nationally indicate otherwise. Yes, I'm one of the many who attended the previous meeting in support of the city manager. I had posted an e-comment along with many others and will not repeat all of the reasons I believe Ms. Lowenthal is doing an excellent job. I'm sharing an abbreviated version of the comments I posted today, although I'm now going to add in a long paragraph about the housing element since it was brought up by several of her detractors. As I said before, all has not gone perfectly in the city. nor has it ever. To blame the manager for every misstep or construction overrun is overly simplistic. Remember, budgets and appropriations are approved by the council. Important policies are implemented per staff recommendations or not by their vote. So for those of you who want to cast the support as a popularity contest, it is disingenuous to minimize our voices this way. It implies our community support isn't meaningful or important. People from all areas of the community, and critically also from city agencies, spoke out convincingly in favor of her performance. Now, by the way, to imply that this was on because she insisted they do so is ridiculous. For those that missed the meeting, I suppose you watched the recording and note what some of the council members are doing during it. So many people opposed Suja retaining her position mentioned the housing element. I remember many delays occurred as Council and Planning Commission directed staff to research an ever-growing list of ideas strongly argued for by constituents. Staff warned us repeatedly about looming deadlines. The suggestion to add housing on Pier and the outcry about St. Cross parcels, and no doubt well-meaning efforts by a realtor group insisting they could find appropriate property to conclude at the 11th hour, even though every parcel had been examined, were just a few of the delays I recall offhand. I sympathized with the council that faced very hard decisions, but again, this was not Suja's fault. We need to face our own roles, whether we argued against various plans or ignored the entire process. For the demoralization and confusion that agendizing this, you know what I mean, this item has caused is nothing compared to the chaos of actually firing her during a contract period. Besides the additional cost in dollars and the loss of disillusioned staff, filling her position with someone experienced and qualified will be extremely difficult after this type of action. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud here, that we need to consider they likely know this, but being a local loyalist is really the more important qualification to some.
Ann?
I hope I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, your time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's okay. I'm sorry, I gave you a little bit extra time, and I apologize. Let's act like ladies and gentlemen here tonight. This is not a mob. We're not here to shout down the other side if your opinion is different. You know, everyone here cares about our city, and they've come here, taken time out of their lives to come down here to say what they think. So you wouldn't want someone shouting at you during your presentation. So please, let's not have any more of that, all right? Let's be respectful to each other. Thank you. Gila, please.
Good evening, and hello, all council members and city manager. I know this is a difficult evening for all of you, and that you have a major decision to make. I'm sure you'll do it with all thoughts in mind and with the respect and the consideration for all of the residents of the city. So I've come here to give you a little bit of feedback and understanding that most of us here in the city of Hermosa Beach trust you to make a good decision, that you know what it's all about, and that we value that. And once you have made your decision for the community, the residents will support you. One thing I would like for you to add to that is that the office of the city manager used to be really open and welcoming. I remember walking in, you know, and seeing the building open and welcoming and coming in and speaking to the city manager. I miss that. I miss that friendly open door policy. There was, you know, I got used to it, and I think most of us residents would really like to have it back. So when you do your job and when you've considered all that you know that you need to do, we, the residents, thank you, and hopefully you'll come to this decision not very quickly, but think about it and share it among each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How you doing? Feel a little bit inadequate. Everybody had a prepared speech, and I've got a Post-it note. I think you guys all made some excellent points. I think if I could say just one thing about, from my observation, I think a lot of the grievances were probably more council action or planning commission action related, as opposed to city manager related. That's just my own observation and my own experience with how government works. My name's Sean Dennison. I've been a resident of Hermosa Beach for 10 or 11 years. I own a business in Hermosa Beach. It's my first time in this building. I think it's kind of important to say it's my first time in this building because I think people should really, I mean, you guys are all better participants in city government than I am, but I only want to show up when there's a problem, and there really haven't been any problems, right? I think Suja has this thing since 2018 running like a well-oiled machine. I don't know why we would frustrate it. My first time in this building, I am a real estate attorney and a real estate developer, so I'm in front of city councils all the time, and I don't feel the need to do it in my own city because I think Suja's doing a wonderful job. One thing I think we're not doing a great job of, and I'm speaking specifically to council members Keegan and Francois, I think you guys are making a spectacle of the city right now. Doing this off cycle, you're embarrassing the city. It's on the front page of a bunch of the periodicals. I've had emails, texts, what have you, from people that live in Santa Monica. Santa Monica is obviously in turmoil right now. And people are saying, you guys are turning into us. And that's not what we want to be. We want to be the quiet city, at least I want to be the quiet city, well-run, by the ocean, where we don't have, all of this discord and drama, quite frankly. And then kind of the last thing I wanted to say is, on a personal level, hey, why do this? Do it on, you have a review every year. Do it on cycle. Like, why single her out like this and try and do it off cycle, cause a bunch of turmoil, make yourselves look like fools, no offense, but you are making yourselves look like fools and making the city look like a discordant and disorganized municipality. So anyhow, if I were you, what I'd be doing, if you've got differences with Suja, I'd be negotiating with her offline and keeping all the baggage where it should be, behind closed doors. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elka, and I remember when Curious used to be a bookstore back in the 70s. I'm probably one of the few people in this room that was raised in Hermosa Beach. I've lived here more than 50 years, since the 2nd grade. My mom still lives here, and I chose to raise my daughter here so she could have a childhood like mine. Hermosa used to be a family-friendly beach town of surfers, artists, professionals, working-class people, even bikers. We are never a big city like Manhattan Beach or Redondo, and definitely not like Long Beach. But lately, that's exactly what Hermosa is starting to feel like. Cold, bureaucratic, a big city disconnected from the people who live here. 6 years ago, you could walk into the city manager's office and have a conversation. Today, our city manager hides behind bulletproof glass and refuses to meet with residents. When we do speak up, we're ignored, silenced, or belittled, even bullied. That's what happened to me when I dared to criticize the city manager. Even my daughter is afraid to say anything because she's watched the personal attacks against me. But it's the little things that tell the real story. Since this manager arrived, a community surf program that brought our kids together was hindered. The Neighborhood Watch program nixed. The Women's Club is still locked out of the Clark building after 6 years of waiting. And don't get me started on the parking permit program. Even my mom gave up. She was so confused by all the requirements. We've received a $1 million grant for a mobile homeless unit with little to show for it. Our neighboring cities have tackled this issue head-on. Manhattan Beach has seen their unhoused drop from 40 to 6. Ask the women I spoke with during my campaign, and they'll tell you they're too scared to walk on the Strand or near the pier because of the growing homeless population. And now there's a 5-story apartment building going up just a block from the beach because the city manager failed to submit the housing element on time. That's not just bad management, that's irreversible damage that could change our city forever. Mayor Seaman and council members, this is a moment of truth. Are you going to stand with the majority of Hermosa residents or protect a city manager who's eroded our values, ignored our voices, and changed the character of this town? I urge you to choose a new path, one that brings back old Hermosa, the one we love and know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, Carolyn Petty. A city manager is somebody who puts their head down and gets work done. But that's not what we have. We have somebody who's more concerned about public relations and optics. Pave a street, issue a press release, get work done that should be getting done. It's a huge event. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Since she has come here, the perspective on financial responsibility has gone completely downhill. When she got here, we had 134 employees. Now we have 151. The reason that we always held really tight on headcount is because every person that's hired brings a never-ending pension liability. The reason it's never-ending is because CalPERS can never meet those investment returns. That's why I've always said, when people ask, it's okay to outsource certain work because these people don't bring pension liability. Yet, as an example, the reason headcounts exploded, all these public works people. Okay, but then what do I hear in these chambers? We have all this deferred maintenance that isn't getting done. Then what are all these public works people doing? The city manager's own budget has increased $1 million since she has been here. And do you know how much headcount has gone up? 2 people. It's mainly, if you look at all the line items, it's mainly compensation. So her whole mentality is just spend, spend, spend. Hence, $5,000 chair for the police department, which is a fact, $70,000 worth of plate glass. So nobody can go back in her office and see how many days she's actually working. And I won't even mention all the parties. We never used to act like this. It was always a discussion about fiscal responsibility. And the residents feel this. If the residents felt their money was being spent wisely, they would not have voted down that sales tax increase. Now, what a normal city manager would do is they would take heed of people saying, no, we're not going to give you another $2 million, retrench, cut headcount, cut expenses, go back to the community and say, look at all the things we've done. That didn't happen. Actually, it got worse because then what happened was she decided to embark upon what I believe to be illegal, an illegal advocacy campaign using city resources to send out flyers talking about how white people should approve the sales tax measure. Completely inappropriate, something that we would have never dreamt of doing. But the other thing is I want to highlight a few other things. The bathrooms, those tiny little bathrooms at the restrooms, were originally going to cost $250,000. I never agreed with it. I don't know if they ended up costing double, triple, because what she does is she throws everything in together and then throws in a higher scope of work, and then you don't even know how much the bathrooms cost. And then in addition to that, couldn't get it done, the city got sued. So streets, our pavement management index has dropped precipitously since she's been here. So arterial collector streets in 2017 was 81 and 77. It was split out before. Now it's 70. That is a fact. We're not paving our streets. Our sewers are not getting done. And the last sewer report is going to be another 10 years before they fix all the sewers. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Please, we need change.
Thank you.
Hello, Trent Larson, and I have spoken at this microphone at least 20 times in favor of City Manager Lowenthal for a whole host of reasons. And I want to try to inject a little bit of levity and some guidance here tonight with all that's being said. The first thing I'd like to say to council is you need to look at the man in the mirror. And you look at yourself and ask yourself, am I doing everything to make the council work better? Or am I interjecting things that really don't belong? And to make it even a little more levity, like for example, the movie Grumpy Old Men, when they were looking at Anne Margaret, they would say, squirrel, 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 to try to divert attention. And that's sometimes I feel like we do that. Just going down things that are like insignificant events to make things worse than they are. And I'll take you another example of what I think we need to do. I just watched the movie, The Making of Led Zeppelin. There couldn't be 4 different musicians, but they came together to make beautiful music because they all gave it themselves of what they had, and they combined to make beautiful music. And that was not easy. And I'm not suggesting that this is easy, but I need you to look in the mirror. Now, as far as Sujas go, look, I still work 37 years, just had my anniversary. Have to make quota every month. It's a big one. I deal with executives all the time who delegate orders and give direction, and that is Suja. She does that. And you need to help her and not fight her, and if you have an issue, you need to say it. And so I think she's been very clear. She's articulate. She's honest. She doesn't come with a hidden agenda. A lot of these things got delayed because I was here. I come to the meetings, you know I do. And I saw what happened. And I would like to say, Sean here, his first time, spot on. Spot on. So it's up to the council to come together, to give Suja guidance. It's up to her to put it together and package it and run it. And it's up to all of you to work as a team. So you need to really think about that. And it's not Suja that is causing any disruption. She's helping you. You just need to work with her and follow her. And if you have a sore point, make sure it's a damn good one and it's not just playing to a small crowd over an issue. The height thing is a great example. We can tackle that. We can fix that. That might have been a problem, but I was here when you all delayed it. I saw it, and I even said, I don't like it. I don't like Big Brother coming down and whooping us. We delayed it. We got caught. We're going to have to work through it. I said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't say Trent could use me as a straw man.
Please.
Thank you, Trent. Well done. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Hermosa Beach City Council, and Madam City Manager. I'm a longtime resident of Hermosa Beach, raised my children here. One of them is here tonight. Let me express my unequivocal support for our City Manager, Suja Lowenthal. From day one, Suja has provided focused, effective, and visionary leadership for our communities. She has not only earned my family's trust, but also the confidence of many across our community. You saw dozens of people here 2 weeks ago speaking on that. Public safety, community engagement, and professional accountability are not just talking points for Suja. They are principles that she enacts, and it is the culture that she has created in our city government. Under her leadership, we have witnessed a meaningful shift towards collaboration between city staff, the police department, and many residents, including myself and my family. She leads with clarity, she leads with respect and compassion, and these are qualities that drive real results, and it fosters community resilience. Perhaps most impressively, Suja has cultivated a strong internal culture among city staff, professionals who are not only accessible, but clearly motivated to serve the people of Hermosa Beach with excellence. Suja, from my family, thank you. Your leadership has made a real and tangible difference in our lives and in the strength of our city. Now, to the city council members. It is time for you to step up. The example is right here in front of you. Consistent, competent leadership that delivers. So emulate it. Our community deserves nothing less. We did not elect you to sit idle or to weaponize the process and weaponize politics. We elected you to lead with strategy, courage, and integrity, and to work with our city manager, not against her. Leadership isn't about posturing, it's about results. It's about accountability, it's about doing the work, and Suja does it, so why can't you? Now let me express my own personal feelings to all of you up there, because I want you all to stop playing games with our community. This charade, what you're calling a public employee performance evaluation, to me, it smells like feeble and flaccid misogyny and white supremacy.
But please,
I wanted to pause
let the
on
man
purpose.
finish.
The data and the accomplishments produced by Suja and her team are outstanding and overwhelmingly supported by this community. So stop fighting with our city manager and get to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Hermosa Beach City Council, and Madam City Manager. My name is Izzy Bakayao. I use they, them pronouns, and I was born and raised in Hermosa Beach, California. A few days ago, I was in Boston, finishing up my semester at Emerson and getting ready for my summer job. But after hearing what's been happening in my hometown of Hermosa Beach, I decided it was time for a visit. There are many things that I admire about Suja Lowenthal. I admire her dedication to the people of Hermosa Beach. I admire her dedication to making Hermosa Beach, as a city, a better place. But you don't need to agree with Suja Lowenthal or her work to understand that the actions taken against her are both undemocratic and wrong. The issue at hand goes beyond whether or not you agree with Suja. It's about the leadership of the city. There's a reason attempts to fire Suja have been in closed sessions. It's because you know that, as shown here tonight, that the people do not agree with this decision. And instead of listening to the people, you've gone behind all our backs and tried to do it anyway. To me, that doesn't sound like a democratic system. Democracies are for the people, and the people need to see what's happening and be a part of it. There are no democracies without transparency. We deserve, if not to be directly involved, to be clearly informed, to which neither have been consistent through this process. You as a politician don't own this city. We, the people, own this city, and by proxy, we own you. You are to represent the people of Hermosa Beach, our beliefs, and our values. When you don't do that, we, as the people of Hermosa Beach, will take a stand against you. I think it's come to that point. And so I stand for the recall of Dean Francois, Michael Keegan, and Rob Seaman. Thank you for your time.
All right, please.
Good evening, Council, Madam City Manager. Elections have consequences. I understand that. We just had an election, and it was a vigorous campaign, and I can't say that I was personally happy with the outcome, but elections have consequences, and so I'm not surprised that we're here now today having this discussion. In a sense, I'm actually impressed that you followed through on your campaign pledges to bring up this action, which we all knew what was happening, and you were elected. Just because you can, though, does not mean that you should. If I had read all of what was said about Suja Lowenthal on the internet and from certain quarters of this city, when I began to serve on the Civic Facilities Advisory Group, I would have expected that she would be running an overt agenda to get what she wanted out of that process. Instead, I have found myself, along with several members of the community, some of which I agree with and some of which I don't agree with, having vigorous debates to inform her perspective in an advisory group that was formed by the council on that particular issue. I've seen the way that she deals with people that have a completely different perspective than her, and she deals with it in a thoughtful, a democratic way where she's trying to get consensus and be able to bring to council good recommendations. I would also like to just take a moment to express sort of disbelief at some of the comments that I've heard here tonight. We've heard, first off, that the streets aren't getting paved, and I don't know which road you guys took on the way here, but I definitely saw some work happening, and I know that Suja and her entire team have been working incredibly hard to get this work done and as least disruptive as possible. I've heard a lot about the 50-foot condo that the community is up in arms about and how the housing element is the reason that we are now faced with this project. This is not so. We delayed the housing element by months and then years because of vociferous community opposition to development on certain lots. And that's fine, that we had a process, we went through that process, and we got our housing element certified. But I want it to be known to the council and to the community that we are now in a position where, yes, we have our housing element certified, but without actually making progress on the zoning code update, getting it across the finish line, and actually looking at getting some of these impediments to development of reasonable development in Hermosa Beach across the finish line, we are going to be back in this situation in 2029, and the state is going to revoke our certification of our housing element. Then you will not be faced with one 50-foot structure, but unlimited builder's remedy across the entire town. And we want to switch horses mid-race right now. This is the time when we don't have a community economic developer, a police chief. This is when we want to fire the city manager and change course. It is against what you campaigned for. If you want to avoid builder's remedy, please maintain consistent leadership. Let's get this project across the finish line, and let's have thoughtful, keep Hermosa, Hermosa development. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name is Robert Fortunato. I'm a 30-year resident of Hermosa Beach, and I am also the president of Forest Strategy Consulting. For the last 25 years, I've worked with some of the best leaders and had the opportunity to coach them as an executive coach. And what I witnessed in the last meeting on this topic, I've never seen before. In my 25 years of work, I've never seen so many employees who were so dedicated and so supportive of their leader. And this is something that is so unusual for this meeting to still be happening is shocking to me. So we need to really take a look at what has happened here. And Madam City Manager, I would suggest that you do a master class because your employees were so dedicated and so thoughtful in their approach to supporting you on this topic that, again, in 25 years of work, I've never seen anything like this. So I would thoroughly encourage you to take the thoughts that you heard last week and as more are coming forward, to reinforce what has been done in the city. I've been at this podium now for 30 years addressing city councils, and we've never seen the city work this well together. We need to continue that process. In addition, by interrupting the normal cycle that should happen for reviews, you're setting the city up for litigation. I work with law firms, and that's not something we need to pay for through our tax dollars. Thank you.
Hello, there you go, Ashley Toll. I made a couple of notes. I wasn't going to speak, which is what I say every time I come here, but because I'm engaged and I care, here I am again. I wanted to just address a couple of things that have been said. That the employees were paid to come and represent Suja. A lot of them are here. Former Chief Paul LeBaron is here. Why don't we ask him? Now Chief Landon, here, we should ask him. We should ask them if they've been paid to come and speak for Suja, because I already asked and I already know the answer, so I'm curious if you guys have asked, because I've seen that rhetoric has been reposted online over and over again, and none of you, some of you, have rebutted it, but you guys haven't, so I'm curious there. Are we massively staffed, or is there massive turnover? Did we increase the payroll and now we've got crazy amounts of city employees, or do we have crazy turnover? Because what? The same comment was made by the same person. So I'm curious there, if you could just address that. There was a time when you could just walk into the police station and there wasn't any glass or any doors that you had to walk by. We did that too. Should we remove that glass? Are only the police officers allowed to be protected at their job and feel safe while they're in their office? Or are other employees doing that? Can you just walk into a fire station randomly and just walk up and start talking to a fire chief? Somehow I doubt it. My office, you can't just walk in. The Chamber of Commerce, you can't just walk in and just demand to speak to someone. I mean, you could, but there's a wall, right? I would hope that most offices have walls, have doors. God forbid they have glass so you could see through. Sorry. The 50-foot height limit. Bullshit. That's just not even true. If you were nearly as involved in this meeting as you are in the rest of them, then you would all know that, right? All of the people who have commented on this giant, massive building that Suja herself is down there with brick building, if you had come to any other meetings, you would know that's not true. A simple Google would figure that one out as well. Personal attacks have come up a lot. I've sat here today and listened to some personal attacks. I don't hear you stopping them, which is fun for me. I'm wondering if the developer that Mr. Keegan met with, if he's gonna obey the height limit, or if we're just gonna handshake deal that one away and let him do whatever he wants, because that feels like where we're headed right now as well. No oversight. I see you laughing, but I also walked by Manhattan Bread and Bagel and it's rated a B, so if you guys are eating there, you might wanna clean your food before you eat it. Let's see, what else? Oh, raised here. If you lived here for a decade, if you lived here for 30 years, does your comments not matter if you haven't been raised? You weren't born here? Because some of us worked our asses off to get here. They didn't just inherit their homes in order to live here, right? We all matter. We're all voters. Don't forget, we'll recall you. My time is up. Have a great night.
Hello, I think I'm next. I was in the garage the other day and I ran into a bag of no-on-O hats. And that's a time when Hermosa came together. 85% of us worked hard to beat the big giant oil company that wanted to stick a straw in the ocean and suck it out over on 2nd Street on city property. Anyway, cut to today, and it does sound like there's this side and that side, but how about just stopping for 1 minute and let's talk about the senior citizens living in their homes in Hermosa Beach. There are some of them that have been talking about the house that's being built to create, like they called it, a finger in the middle of the street on Palm in the North Hermosa. This is the result of a missed deadline. And my parents were teachers, and if you missed turning your report in on time, for whatever reason, you were penalized. I don't want to attack another woman. That's against my heart. And I'm certainly not attacking Suja, but I don't know who to speak to for a senior citizen who is understanding that these homes that are going to sit in shadow of one person that slipped through because of a missed housing element. I was sitting right over there the day that we were told that it was missed by 2 years. That's a big deal for me. It was a notification issue. We aren't feeling, we senior citizens, that you're transparent enough and that you include us enough. And a bunch of realtors really did try to step up and help, and we only had 14 days at that point. But somehow other cities included their people. We don't feel included. And I'll tell you, I've come in personally and said, when the cell tower was built at Gould, we only found 5 people that received notices. And there were 300 supposedly sent out. So we're not getting what we want, and that is transparency. And we are the best little beach city, but we're not the big city. And we have to think of the fact that seniors now can't even get a parking pass in person anymore. Oops. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Madam City Manager, good evening. For me, this is a particularly sad day in our beautiful beach city. I'm equal parts shocked and saddened at the often hate-fueled campaign against our city manager, Suja Lowenthal, and that it has led us to this embarrassing moment of betrayal, reckless and deeply damaging blows to what has been accomplished under a highly effective and true leader. And I'll add, in this moment, the sum total impact is a failure of our city's humanity as well. I made my perspectives very clear at the last meeting, how I view Suja's leadership as deeply skilled, deeply effective, and so those comments are there to read for whoever wants to revisit them. But she has integrity, and this is who she is. Yet we find ourselves with relatively small group acting with an often very ugly mob mentality to stage a surprise attempt at ousting our city manager before her contract ends with super flimsy and at best and outright false claims at worst of her performance. Deeply inaccurate and misunderstood issues spun up for manipulation. It's classic gaslighting. So I am here to be on the record and to bear witness. Suja, I want to apologize on behalf of all the people who know firsthand and beyond the shadow of a doubt, of any doubt, how much you have done to improve so many things across our city. People who know how much you have done, who have witnessed it up close over and over again, and the real evidence is everywhere we look. And for those who are inclined to dismiss the opinions of the people who know the most, our city employees, this is absolute madness. Some suggesting that their heartfelt substantive comments of support were disingenuous is profoundly disrespectful. Their opinions should matter to us because they know better than anyone. The real evidence is everywhere. So to all of the staff of Hermosa Beach, we heard you. Suja, you do not deserve this fabricated assault, nor the manner in which it has unfolded. You and your staff do not deserve the tsunami of stress that has been unleashed. This is wrong. I know it, and all of us who have worked with you know it. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. John Burry. I do recognize that there are very sharply opposing views in this room, and you only have to look at the way that we're all seated this evening to know that. But I respect everybody's right to their opinion, I really do. I do attach more weight to some than others. I attach more significance to the views of tax-paying residents, for example, than those of a paid Teamster union official. I understand that some of you strongly support the city manager and that you believe that this city is being supremely well managed. But I also know that many people in this city have a different view. They find City Hall unapproachable, unhelpful, and to some, downright obstructive. But I also know that those people love their town. And to characterize them as city haters attempting to sabotage or tear down their own town is to make two very significant mistakes. Firstly, it diminishes the democracy that is supposed to protect us all. And for those of you that referenced the Measure O campaign, you might be surprised to know that the election turnout last November was higher than it was for the ballot measure O. And in this election in November, the 3 candidates who stood for City Council on a very clear platform of significant change in City Hall gained a majority of the votes. And I think that's significant. The second is, it makes us more likely to repeat the mistakes of the last 7 years if we don't recognize those mistakes. This relentless focus on optics over results needs to get reined in. We all make mistakes. Stop glossing over them. Start learning the lessons from them. I don't blame the city manager for every misstep, but I do hold her responsible for a culture that seems to divide us more than it unites us. And for those of you that are concerned about transparency, ask yourself where the publicly available performance measures are for our city manager, because they don't exist. And ask yourself where every performance review of this city manager has been held for the last 6 or 7 years. It's been in closed session. That's how these things get done. And some of you seem to be actually wishing that the next phase of all of this, wherever it takes us, is mass resignations and lawsuits. Well, that doesn't sound accurate or helpful. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager Lowenthal. My name's Angela Crespi, and I'm the former Deputy City Manager for Hermosa Beach. I'm going to keep my comments positive this evening because that's the way that Suja would do it. I'm a 20-year professional in local government, and I have experience working in several top-tier organizations. City Manager Lowenthal is one of the best and brightest city managers I have ever had the privilege of working with, and the decision to accept a new position was one of the hardest professional decisions of my life. I will miss working with her terribly. The time I had working with Suja was challenging in the most inspiring way, as she mentored and guided staff to achieve great strides in modernizing this organization for the benefit of the entire community. Last meeting, there were several comments from your labor groups and your staff about culture, the internal staff culture that Suja has carefully cultivated with her unique leadership. This may not seem important, but it is. It's important because this culture inspires your staff to strive toward achieving the high expectations of this community, despite its low resources and small staff team. Under Suja's leadership, your staff team works together, giving themselves completely, often sacrificing their personal and family to do so. They do it for each other, and they do it for her. I ask that you pause and consider what you would lose if your organization becomes transactional, rather than one that you currently have under Suja's leadership, one that is truly inspired by service. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, and City Manager Suja Lowenthal. This is the first time I've ever filled out a speaker card. My name is Carrie Tai. I'm the city's former Community Development Director. I had the privilege of working under Suja Lowenthal's leadership from January 2023 through October 2024. And with her help, I came in and helped rebuild the Community Development Department after a period of significant turnover of city staff, and so that the department staff and the city could focus on extremely important issues at hand. One of those important issues is one that we've heard often tonight and throughout the other meeting I had the privilege of watching on Zoom. It was completing the city's housing element so the city could comply with state law and avoid many different consequences. So I will say with Suja's support, and only with Suja's support, the city and the department were able to advance that housing element steadily but surely to certification. Were there delays? Yeah, I think we all remember them. But in July of 2024, we got that letter from HCD, and the city of Hermosa Beach had finally realized the protection from the consequences of not having that certified housing element. So the city's been safe since July 2024. While the housing element was one of the city's most significant goals, I watched every day as Suja steadily, calmly, and professionally guided, completed, and launched critical initiatives, some of which had been overdue for decades. And she shouldered the load of that work product, regularly putting them on a plan, assigning them out to ensure that they would be addressed under her tenure. On a daily basis, Suja led her team with grace, patience, an open mind and heart, and a steady commitment to municipal excellence. So how often was Suja working? All the time. Morning, noon, night, tuning into boards and commission meetings, nights and weekends. I knew. I was there. Suja is one of the most accessible, human, humble, and effective city managers I could have ever had the honor and privilege of working for. I had to leave the city of Hermosa Beach last October due to a personal reason, and I was devastated to leave the city and a very cohesive executive team that Suja had built. People move on for many different reasons, and I at that time did not publicly state why I did. But I told Suja in confidence about the gut-wrenching choices I had and the decision to move on. So now Suja had to contend with a department head of a very critical department, and what did she do? She was incredibly supportive and did everything possible to ensure that that transition was smooth. And so in summary, I would like to thank publicly Suja Lowenthal for being the most wonderful city manager that I could have ever worked under and that the city of Hermosa Beach could have had the privilege of working with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Seaman, council members, staff, Suja. My name is Stacy Armato, and 7 years ago, I had the privilege of serving on the council that selected Suja to be our city manager. Today, I stand by that decision more strongly than ever, and I urge you all and our community to recognize the outstanding leadership, integrity, and results that Suja has delivered to Hermosa Beach. Under her leadership, we have accomplished what many cities can only aspire to do, including formulating a very high-functioning executive team that delivers what our community demands, first-class service, and their dedication is evident in every project and service that we deliver. I've largely stayed out of these council chambers very happily over the last 2 years, and it's been because I've implicitly trusted 3 council members over that period of time. That doesn't mean that we agree on all things. It just means that I trusted you to work through decisions in a fair way, always keeping this community as your top priority. But I must be candid, while this council has not formally voted to remove Suja, the actions and the rhetoric leading up to tonight have already inflicted lasting damage. The public airing of doubts, the repeated closed session discussions, and the uncertainty surrounding her future have created a climate of distrust that cannot simply be undone with a single vote. And let's be clear about the consequences if we lose Suja. There will be organizational disruption and inefficiency. There will be loss of institutional knowledge and leadership. There will be morale and productivity decline. There will be greater community division and public distrust. And importantly, and perhaps something you haven't taken too much time to think that hard about, but there will be a difficulty attracting top talent. If Suja leaves under these contentious circumstances, Hermosa will struggle to attract qualified candidates. City managers are a close-knit community. Word spreads quickly about councils that are volatile and unsupportive. A messy departure signals instability, and it will make it harder to recruit experienced leaders to fill her role. Now, I must address another uncomfortable truth. This campaign against Suja is not about performance or outcomes. It's a personal vendetta. Council members Francois and Kingan had made it very clear through their actions and alliances that their opposition to Suja is rooted in personal and political grievances, not in what is best for Hermosa Beach. What is even more disappointing is seeing our mayor, who I have always regarded as fair and balanced, potentially joining this effort. With the baseless consideration of firing Suja, I can no longer have faith in the mayor's leadership or judgment. Before you cast your votes tonight, I ask you to reflect on a few words from Abraham Lincoln. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. This moment is a test of your character as a council and individually. Leadership is not about wielding power for personal ends, but about using it wisely, fairly, and for the good of the people that you serve. Let's rise to the occasion and make decisions that will stand the test of time. We must recognize that leadership thrives on trust and stability, and the instability you have introduced has not only shaken our staff and our community, but it has put us in real danger of losing a city manager whose track record speaks for itself. I'm almost done. I am proud of the work that has been done together under Suja's leadership, and I urge this council to reaffirm our commitment to stability, progress, and excellence by supporting her continued service as our city manager. Thank you. Thank you for the extra time this morning.
Bob Wolf. I'm a taxpayer and a resident, so I guess I meet the criteria to be able to speak to the council today. Just a little bit about my bona fides. I'm a graduate of Inglewood High School. I've lived in the South Bay almost my entire life. I've lived in first in Manhattan Beach and then in Hermosa Beach since 1990. I know very well 4 of the 5 council members here. One of the council members I've known since the early 1990s. I care a lot about the city. I submitted written comments, and I hope that you take a look at them. I dealt with policy issues. I just want to speak personally here today. We've heard some people criticize Suja Lowenthal as being remote and inaccessible. I have to tell you, speaking personally, that is not the case. She has, I've seen her, I spend a fair amount of time on regional issues relating to the county. I'm on several nonprofit boards and some public boards. In my professional life, I represented governmental entities, and I worked for the California Court of Appeal. I have seen Suja Lowenthal after hours doing city business. I've marveled at her stamina and seeing her in those so you don't have to keep track of her hours. She is not behind glass. And the main thing that I think that you need in a city manager, that you need in any public servant, is decency and kindness. And those are factors, and I'm speaking from my heart, that Suja Lowenthal has. It just radiates out. And I'm not going to deal with personal things, but she has reached out and touched me in ways that I deeply care about. And I think that serves the city well. So in addition to all the professional reasons, I just want you to consider the personal factors that we have in our city manager. And I hope you keep Hermosa the place that I love. And part of that radiates from the people who direct our dedicated city staff. One final word: when people compare Hermosa to adjoining cities, something that nobody's ever mentioned. Manhattan Beach does not have dining decks. Hermosa Beach does. And I've never seen anybody ever raise that as a comparison when we're considered to be anti-business or against beach beach culture, and if we're going to assign blame for things that Sue just maybe not responsible for, let's think about that. As I spent last night having dinner on one of our great dining decks here in Hermosa Beach. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Hi, Moira Nelson, and I'm really not prepared, so this will be short. I admire and appreciate Suja so much. I've never had never felt unwelcome in City Hall. I've never failed to get the help that I needed. What I do want to say is there's such a huge disagreement between the two main groups in this room tonight, but if you read all of the commentary and if you listen carefully to what's been said on both sides, it's pretty clear that so much of the criticism of Suja is misplaced and mistaken, that just based on a misunderstanding of how the city works, how decisions are made. And I see also a tremendous amount of support for her. A couple weeks ago was overwhelming. Even tonight, you can't say that there is a majority of people in town who are unhappy with the way the city is running. Most of us are pretty thrilled to be living here. So I think really the lesson you should take is that there must be a way to find a less disruptive path forward than the one that Dean Francois and Michael Keegan are urging on you. I don't think it's the right way to go for Hermosa Beach. Thank you.
Ray DeSalt, Hermosa Beach. Good evening, Mayor Seaman, council members, City Manager Lowenthal. Hermosa Beach is at a crossroads, and it is appropriate that this largely transformed city council is revisiting the city manager's performance. The evaluation isn't political, it's governance. And to many residents, it is overdue. Since her hiring, Ms. Lowenthal seems to have reshaped Hermosa in ways that feel more like Long Beach than the small community-driven town we were. Bureaucracy has grown, access has shrunk. Simple tasks like saying hello to staff while getting a parking permit are no longer possible. It's not just the vibe that's changed, but the outcomes. We see it in project after project as they come in late and over budget. The Clark Building, the park restrooms. We've seen the city manager's office budget alone balloon significantly. The CrossFit debacle, the litigation, which cost the city $1.3 million, occurred during Ms. Lowenthal's tenure and Ms. Armato's tenure, obviously. Many business owners have a story of it being difficult to work with the city. Many say they don't speak up because of the potential of retaliation. New city processes seem to be unnecessarily costly, slow, and sometimes punitive. Sales tax revenues are down. It only takes a single walk to realize that visitor traffic is way down and our restaurants and retail are struggling. The economic development strategy that Councilmember DeToy helped develop and residents spent hundreds of hours on has seen almost no project, even though the council directed it to be a priority years ago. We are told we need more money to do these things right, but maybe what we need is leadership that does things right even when small town budgets are tight. Some suggest this is personal. This isn't personal, it's priorities. While some believe her focus has been spot on, others, reflected in conversations and in voting patterns, believe her priorities have strayed from what was best for Hermosa. That kind of disagreement is normal and healthy. It's part of a strong, engaged community. But I am glad someone mentioned democracy. We can't ignore what residents have said at the ballot box. Over the last 2 elections, voters decisively rejected the status quo. Candidates aligned and clearly aligned themselves with the old way of doing business, struggled, and many lost, clearly and consistently. Well, those votes weren't a referendum on any one person, not the city manager or any other one person. They were a referendum on the direction of the city. Voters called for change, and that call is being respected by evaluating the city manager, which is your guys' role. It's not our vote, it's yours. We voted you in to do that. I urge you to move forward with this evaluation thoughtfully, respectfully, and objectively. You have both the right and responsibility to do so. It's about asking whether the person leading our city reflects the values, needs, expectations, and future of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in chambers who would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one. Madam City Clerk, is there anyone online?
Yes. As a reminder, if you're joining the meeting by phone, please remember to dial *6 to unmute yourself and *9 to raise your hand. First, we will begin with Anthony Higgins. Anthony, your 3 minutes will begin once you start speaking.
Yeah, hello. I don't think this is such a complicated issue. We had the sales tax program that Ms. Lowenthal shepherded that basically misled the public on the benefits of the sales tax without speaking to any of the negative aspects. For instance, she told us what wouldn't be taxed. She didn't tell us what would. Things like cars or purchases at stores or online, or you can go on and on. It wasn't a balanced viewpoint. You look at the city yard, getting back to sales tax, it was just downright misleading. It was promotional mailers and infomercials, not educational material, like she said, downright misleading. You get to the civic facilities project, where we were being led by the nose by her hand-picked consultants towards option A, the public-private partnership. That was obvious to everyone. It was discussed intensely, and it was changed. We have a situation now where the civic facilities project, everybody agreed we needed new community engagement. Well, nothing's happened on that. You look at the housing element and the coastal plan. Both of them were screwed up. And no, it wasn't the residents' fault. That's craziness. It was that we didn't hold the hearings when they needed to be held, and she didn't have the experience to anticipate the problems. And we're right back in the builder's remedy crosshairs again. You look at the city yard project, for our $300,000 now, what, 33 million? We've been at it for 7 years, and we haven't even decided if we're going to go bid or no bid. We haven't defined the requirements for that, despite it being a high priority. Look at the Clark building, 7 years of chaos. Look at the restrooms. Then consider the fact that Ms. Lowenthal has told us from the council chambers that we're not allowed to criticize public employees. And when I asked her to correct that, she wouldn't, the attorney wouldn't, but BBK Law did send me an email saying I was right. You look at the COVID crisis, where we had a situation where we were at the peak of the pandemic. Doctors and nurses were pleading for help. People were dying in LA left and right.
Mr. Higgins, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I'll wrap it up.
Your time is up. I've already given you some extra time. Thank you. Next, please.
Next, we have Laura Pena. Laura, your 3 minutes will start once you begin speaking.
As
This is Laura Pena. As one of only 3 people who showed up to speak on this issue last year at midnight, I wish I could say I'm surprised by tonight's outpouring of public feedback. But let's be honest, I didn't see anything close to this level of concern back then, probably because most people were asleep. That night, I respectfully asked for more information about our city manager's key performance indicators, because honestly, how am I supposed to know how she's being evaluated? And what was the response from council? It's a private matter. And then one council member actually said that the public commenters, quote, lacked a basic understanding of the performance of the city and our city manager, and that this was, quote, a problem of our own making. He said, I give their opinion no weight. So let me get this straight. I asked for the metrics, I'm told it's private, and then I'm told I have no standing to comment because I don't understand the performance. That's not just frustrating, it's circular logic and it builds distrust. So how do we move forward? Whether you support the current leadership or you think it's time for change, I think most of us just want to know this process is being done fairly and thoughtfully. Sharing a simple summary of performance metrics, highlights, would go a long way towards rebuilding trust. It's not about violating privacy, it's about showing accountability. And let's not forget, we're staring at a $3 million projected deficit in the next 4 years. These are serious times, and residents want to know that our city leadership is effective, focused, and aligned. I'll also remind you of something the city manager herself said asked about Hermosa's biggest challenge. She said the hard part is achieving the vision of council and the community with finite resources, and that council would have to prioritize projects because not everything can be number one. So what happened at the CIP meeting last night? Supposedly the most important meeting of the year, it was continued, rightfully so. And yet when I tried to talk to a council member, we couldn't even figure out what spreadsheet we were looking at. It's ridiculous. How can you prioritize projects or adjust funding if you don't have a basic framework that works for all of you? This is your job, the community is watching, and it's time to show us you are serious about planning, performance, and working together. It's not just when it's convenient or easy. We don't need more blame. We need better governance. We need accountability. We deserve better. You all know this, and so do I. So whatever you decide, I don't have to agree with the decision, but I don't have to be disagreeable. All I ask is for you to be the same. Thank you.
Next, we have Josh Kay. Josh, your 3 minutes will begin once you begin speaking.
I'm unmuted and I'm speaking. Good. Good evening, Council. It's clear we have 2 competing visions for Hermosa Beach. One is the traditional model, where issues are looked at fairly, dealt with professionally, and residents are heard and city services function. The other is the Suja vision, where PR is policy, photo ops are public service, transparency is optional, and residents' concerns are routinely disregarded. Over the past 8 years, we've watched the basics erode. Code enforcement, they're AWOL. Infrastructure, it's crumbling. Public records, delayed or disappeared. And senior leadership, gone. The good people and the bad, well, I suppose that part's a win, but don't worry, I'm sure we'll get a Facebook post and a press release out of it. It's clever, really. Control the narrative, ignore the data, and call it progress. I'll say it again. It's clever. Control the narrative, ignore the data, and call it progress. But leadership isn't a branding exercise. Running a city takes real management, not PR tactics. When a city is well run, the PR takes care of itself because residents do the talking, not outside consultants billing us to spin the story. We deserve a city that's service-focused and puts the community first, not one managed like a campaign. Now, some of you might know me, and some of you might know the problems that I encounter through code enforcement, that nothing ever happens, or the big project behind my house that's illegally built with zero setback. I sat up there 6, 7 weeks ago and I did my diatribe and I was asking for the city manager to listen, right? To look at the problem and help come up with a solution. Well, city council decided that that was probably a good idea and they made that suggestion. Well, that was on the calendar for last Thursday. And when I showed up, guess who was absent? Suja was absent. Did I get an email saying, sorry, I couldn't make it and here's the reason why? No, no response. You all have seen the emails that I've sent you. They're very straightforward. There's numerous problems.
Wrap up, please.
The city is ignoring them. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Matt McCool. Matt, your 3 minutes will start once you begin speaking.
Thank you, Madam Deputy City Clerk. Good evening, Mayor Seaman, City Council and staff. Matt McCool. I'll try to be as brief as possible because much of what has needed to be said has already been said here tonight. But I'm going to put this in context of why we're in this situation and the two sides that are divided. Coming out of oil, the Keep Hermosa crowd realized or believed, falsely believed, that they had a mandate for political activism. And ever since then, this town has been a political activist-driven community. And this is why Stacey Armato was an epic failure as a council member and why she didn't run. And the fact that she showed up tonight was an embarrassment, but God bless her. I wish her the best of luck. But this is a business decision. We are running a business. The city manager is the CEO of a business. You're there to maximize resources. We're not here to go ahead and promote a personal political agenda. And this is why the city manager has failed over and over again. Now, I can go ahead and go and repeat a lot of stuff that's already been said here tonight, but I'm not. But I did want to emphasize one thing. It is the retaliation that happens from City Manager Lowenthal, and it is absolutely for real. She's had me reported to the FBI. And Landon Phillips, are you there tonight? I got 2 words for you. Kash Patel, he's coming for you, baby. Okay? This is what happens over and over again. And I want to go ahead and say that City Manager Lowenthal is a pathological liar. I have a whole list I'm going to go through, but I'm just going to say one perfect example. She has claimed this fortified position of solid steel reinforced doors and bulletproof glass up there in the city manager's office. She has claimed she's had death threats. Councilman Jackson's all but implied that I'm the one who's done it, which is insane, but it is Councilman Jackson, so it's par for the course. I have a public records request in. If City Manager Lowenthal is not a pathological liar about everything she's ever said, this one perfect example, where are the police reports of her reporting that she's had death threats? That right there, that one simple, very simple example will tell you everything you need to know about City Manager Lowenthal. That's my time, my piece. Good night. God bless.
Next, we have George Barks. George, your 3 minutes will start once you begin speaking.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm in Loreto, Mexico, our sister city at the moment, and we were having real difficulty being able to join. Yeah, I know it. Okay. Hold on one. Well, okay. I have had my notes here. Okay. First of all, I'm George Barks. I was born and raised in Hermosa Beach. My kids too. Former mayor and councilman, 12 years in Hermosa. And I just would like to share with the city council my experience on the city council and how the city manager form of government works. So I've listened to both sides of the issue. I do not think it's justified to fire a city manager Lowenthal at this time. The city council sets the policy. The city manager runs the day-to-day operations of the city. And I've been involved in selecting a new city manager when I was on the city council. It's not easy and it's costly. And the new council members that got elected just recently, I would like for you to continue the regular cycle of, reviewing the job performance. And if you're unhappy with some of these things, you need to tell the city manager this. And I would suggest at least 6 months to 1 year before you even consider removing the city manager from Hermosa Beach. Now, the council sets the policy. When I was on the city council, and I would review how many city employees, full-time and part-time, we have. Because the only way you can save money for the taxpayers is to keep the number of full-time employees low. Well, the city manager presents the city budget, the city council reviews it. Is anyone looking to see the additional employees that was mentioned earlier by some of the speakers? Apparently not. Otherwise, or you were in favor of it. If this direction of the city, if the majority of the people in the city do not like the direction, it's because the former city council, not the current city council. And I really think, without repeating everybody, and I don't have my timer on because we had difficulty getting on here. I ask you not to remove the city manager and to try to work as a team and review the city manager's performance on a regular cycle. And I don't have the notes in front of me, but
Wrap up, George, please.
3 minutes or not, Mayor. Okay.
It's up. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we have a speaker listed as hotel. Speaker listed as hotel, your 3 minutes will start once you begin speaking.
That was George, I believe. That's George. But, yeah.
This is Barbara Ellman, and I am totally shaken by the fact that I agree with George Barks on something. And it shows that things can happen like that. What I'd like to do is just quickly state that times do change. And yes, the city manager has made her office safer. And we know this because she was threatened, and the police chief made that very clear. And the fact that a city resident actually showed a sky view of where her home was and challenged people to find out where she lived. And staff was accused of not working for the city, and they were scared. So she did her job, just like in a bank or just like in a doctor's office or the police station. I think you're making way too much out of the fact that Suja is being forward-thinking and not have to wish she had done something. But more importantly, I'd like to talk to Mike DeToy and Ray Jackson. I think it's your responsibility tonight to get the answers to the questions that people are asking. Of Michael Keegan, he ran on a campaign. He knew that he ran on a campaign of let's fire the city manager, yet he admitted in a debate that he hadn't been paying attention. There have to be actual reasons. Suja has to have done something. It can't just be because. You have to walk out of this meeting and know exactly what his thoughts were. And the same thing with Councilmember Francois. I sat through that 2-hour State of the City. The positive comments that were oozing from our mayor at the time, and now all of a sudden he wants to fire her. So he was either lying to the residents of Hermosa Beach 3 weeks ago, or he's lying now. There's no in between. You don't get to be on both sides of that issue. And Mayor Seaman, all I have to say to you is I believe you could have this could have been taken care of weeks ago but you chose to kick this down down the road. So tonight, I'm asking Councilmember DeToy and Jackson to really find out what's going on here. We do feel like there's a secret story going on, and it's sad. This is a small town with big problems, and it shouldn't be that way. And I will leave this, I'm very uncomfortable about what I'm about ready to say, but anyone who wants to know why Carrie Ty left this town should approach her after the meeting. And I think Carolyn Petty would be extraordinarily embarrassed for the comments that she made earlier on Facebook, that email that she sent out this weekend. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see any virtual hands raised. And I did receive one speaker card.
That's fine. Thank you. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you. Well, as of an hour and a half ago, I'm Paul.
Yeah, you'll always be Chief to me.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that. That's a sign of respect that I will never forget. I want to go off topic for 1 second and take a moment to thank Hermosa Beach for just the most amazing 5 years of my life. That's the only time you're going to hear me speak about that publicly, because this is really about Landon taking over as what is going to be one of the greatest chiefs in the history of this department, and I'm fully confident in that. But I do want to speak about this topic, so I want to just clarify some things. I wasn't planning to come in here and speak today, but I know you're going to go to closed session. I know there's a lot to consider, and I want to make sure that you have the factual information, because as a police officer, and the way that we ran the police department in this city is we based everything off of the facts, and we vetted them thoroughly to make sure we were making good decisions. So let me start with this. I was eligible to retire in 2020 when I was hired here. Suja owes me nothing. I did not work for her in the sense of I was indebted to her for a salary. I could have retired. I was here because I care for her, I value her, she taught me a lot, and most importantly, I love the city and I love the people in it, and the police department in particular. Some of the misinformation that's been mentioned just tonight that I want you to know about, and this is not to counter anything that anyone said, but I believe if you're going to go in and debate the facts, you need to know the facts in and of themselves. It was mentioned that Suja was blamed for spending $5,000 on a chair for the police department. That was a massage chair that I authorized the purchase of for wellness. It's not an unknown fact that our officers suffer from sore backs. That chair was purchased with grant funding that came from the state of California. It was not city budget, so that is something that she should not be blamed for. The doors in the city manager's office have been talked about a lot tonight, that Hermosa is not what it used to be. That was my decision to put doors on the city manager's office. There are people who would love to take credit for the fact that they threatened and scared this city staff. Most of those people don't have any merit. There are truly, legitimately people suffering from mental illness who have threatened our staff and who have created serious problems. When Suja and I consulted about this, she had options. She could spend a lot of money on an intricate alarm and surveillance system, or we could make a simple door, and that door would protect our city staff. She chose to do the simplest, most effective, cheapest thing possible. So anybody who wants to blame her for that needs to talk to me first, because that was my decision that she implemented. I've heard it said that staff is inaccessible. There are people in this room, media, business owners, community members, who have acknowledged to me that nobody has been more accessible than the police department and our city staff. So I'm not sure what staff they're talking about that are inaccessible. There's been mention of intimidation of a council member. I wrote the email that was talked about there, and it was a simple email. Council member Francois has consistently, since he's been a council member, violated the law. And I have pointed it out to him and talked to him about it in regards to traffic violations. And I asked him in an email that was not just to him, but to everybody, so it was completely transparent, how do I explain to my officers why they are being asked by him as mayor to continually enforce a law that he continually violates? And that was a question that I asked because I did not have an answer for our police officers, and I'm hoping at some point I can still convey that answer through our new chief. As far as inaccessibility goes, that is not what we are, and
I'm sorry, can you wrap it up, please?
Yes, sir, I will.
Time already.
So in conclusion then, when you go to closed session, I really want to make sure that you're paying attention to the facts and that they're true facts. There's been some stuff here stated tonight that may or may not be true. Honestly, you do what you need to do with Suja, and I know you probably didn't expect me to hear that. It'd probably be a gift if you let her go because she's so talented, she could work anywhere. But the people here, our employees, and you all deserve the best. And I love the city too much to see you make bad decisions based on bad information. So I'll leave it with that. And I will tell you that in my 32 and a half years, I've never worked for anybody that I admire more than her.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, is there anyone else online? No? Anyone else left? Okay, so I will close the public comment then, seeing no one. And I should just recess to the closed session, but I want to just make one very brief statement. Tonight, on both sides of this issue, there have been so many things said. Many of them are inaccurate and incorrect. I want to just clarify one thing. There has been said several times that this is some sort of closed session backdoor deal, that there's some nefarious thing going on here. And I just have to make it very clear that if you have been on council and you've ever been into a closed session meeting, you understand that it has to be private. That's why we have closed sessions. We're not hiding anything. What goes on in those sessions are, by law, not allowed to be made public because they are of a sensitive nature. So I just want you all to understand that. Other than that, I really can't say anything else and won't say anything else. Thank you all for your comments and your consideration and your concern. I want to assure you all that all of us are concerned about our city, and we all have a job to do here, and that's what we're trying to do. Thank you very much for all of your comments. And I will recess this meeting to closed session.
Thank you for your comments.
meeting. Thank you. Welcome back to the closed session meeting. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Francois?
Here.
Councilmember Keegan?
Here.
Councilmember Jackson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem DeToy?
Here.
Mayor Seaman?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can you provide us with a closed session report, please?
Yes, it might be a little anticlimactic, Mayor and Council, but as you know, the council met in closed session on the agenda item, and no action was taken in the closed session that needs to be reported under the Brown Act. When action is taken, it will be made public. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And so the next item on our agenda is adjournment. I adjourn tonight's special meeting at 8:45. Thank you.